就是大概有60%的人是没有参与过 G0V 社群的。啊，你从来没有踏足过 G0V 社群，给我一只手。If you never attend to any Gov0 event, raise your hand. OK。那有的呢？啊，就相反。好，没问题。好，所以其实大家很多都是这第一次的经验哦。那再来看一下，就是旁边会是什么人？就是乡民最多 ，netizen， civic hackers， 然后 academic， NGO， government staff， students。好，我还是简单介绍一下 What's Gov0。我们开始是 open source 的精神，但是我们就是很强调 hands-on 实作。好，然后呢，我们就是做的事情都是 public goods。所以这个结合在一起会发生什么样的事情？我们昨天动员了一些 geek 写了一个程式哦，就是它会，就是事情会一直发生。就是这个是 G0V Gov0 GitHub repo， 所有人这些都是在做事情的人，然后从2012年开始到现在，浓缩成30秒的贡献。那这个贡献只有就是只有写程式的那一块。那 non-geek 没有写程式的那一块，我们现在很难去把它呈现出来。所以这就是一个分散式的社群，它可以怎么样去动员那么多人做很多不同的事情。那这个是这是昨天临时动员出来的一个影片哦。所以2014年的时候，我们办了第一次 summit。哦，那这个全部都是由志工办理，大概100人。哦，那我们那时候是welcome everyone, come hack with us, come hack with your friends, come build your own community。哦，那第2次的时候是2年前，那个时候我们历经了这个 Sunflower Movement， 然后才就是换政府了啊，所以那时候喊出的口号是 rebuild， 灾后重建。好，那在这样的精神，我们鼓励大家来参与。那今年超乎这个筹备团队的期待哦，我们有来自33国的投稿。好，然后这个是昨天飞进来的讲者，昨天晚上他们就都飞进来了，有23个国家，全部都飞来台北。好，然后就是全部国家现在目前是列在这边，所以有非常多的这个经验哦。那G0V的名言就是。用英文讲一次 ，Ask not why nobody is doing this. First, admit that you are the nobody. 所以我们的工作人员的 T 恤今年就是 nobody， 因为没有人是万能的。有听到那个双关语的，没有人是万能的，所以我是没有人，但是没有人是万能的。那今年很特别一件事情啊，就是我应该是我们整个工作团队最老的。好，但是我们最小的是那个，就是 we have a 10-year-old volunteer staff here. So say hi to NN if you see him. He's there. Wave your hand. Yay. We don't pay, so it's not over. He's with his dad. So okay. 好，所以我们今天的主题就是我们说。We say open， 那然后嘞 ，What happened next？ 好像很多事情在发生，那这些事情到底是什么？所以今年的主题是开放的，然后嘞，今年有非常多很深刻的讨论。好，那今年的设定也不太一样。First day workshop，so today is the day workshop， 就是我们有比较长的、比较深入的、有比较 hands-on 的这些 panel workshop， open discussion 就是今天。那再来就是明天的是比较就是原本之前就规划一层就是 talks， 所以明天有2位 keynote， 然后整天的 talk， 然后傍晚的时候会有这个 Gov0 grants 的闪电秀。那第3天就是这个是我们的这个open community 的重头戏conference， 所以每一个人都可以去投稿 ，everyone can propose your own conference。project at third floor, right？ 好，那这个等一下我会讲连接在哪里，然后下午就是 talk， 然后最后也有一个所有人都可以报名的闪电秀，一个秀5分钟，超时就拔电。好，这就是这3天大家会 精力的烧脑的行程。那我们很快的来讲一下我们接下来要怎么做 Code of Conduct， 请大家仔细阅读网站上或是手册上的Code of Conduct。Respect everyone here in the room. We are building a safe environment for everybody. 然后接下来就是那个很头晕的所有的连接了。I'll go through every link with all of you now, and you can find links. If you don't find one, ask the one next to you. OK， 大会共笔 （Collaborative Notes）。这是我们的习惯哦，所有的开会、所有现场、所有的 notes， 大家都可以一起写。We can write down the notes simultaneously on HackMD。这是一个 collaborative online note taking online software， 所以大家可以就到网站上右上方，你会看到大会共笔。然后如果你在这一间，但是你想要听 R1， 我想这次应该会很多事情会有这样发生，你可以看直播，你可以人在这混在那，或者你看3个 tab， 然后你4个地方都存在，这样这是 OK， 这是可以的，live broadcast。然后呢 ，on conference， 我们现在开始接受投稿，到明天几点截止啊 ？check online， 几点截止？后面结束的时候，好。然后呢，就是到你可以线上投稿，然后你也可以用纸本投稿，在3楼外面哦。那就是可以投票，你一人有1张票，但是我们这次是良心投票，所以你自己去拿戒指。Take your stickers to vote. And then we have birds of feather. We prepare many open spaces for everyone to have open discussion everywhere. So there's a whole lot of tables. On the fourth floor， 4楼有一整区可以揪团你在线上可以去揪。那也请到网站的右侧一大堆 button 去找到这个开放工作坊的连接。有没有在找啊 ？Are you finding the links？ 好，然后闪电奖就是可以报名5分钟，那个就是全场。我们现在其实报名的大概有850人，就到时候是全场挤满的状况，楼上也会挤爆，听你5分钟这个演讲。好 ，chat rooms. Where's everybody online? We are on Slack. 所以 join Slack. 这个就是你最简单就是你去 join 你点 TW 这个的话，你就会被带入一个 Slack 群组，那边有4,000 people online waiting to chat to you. 没有啦，其实没有那么多人在跟你聊天啦，大概1,000吧。好，就是好 Slack。好，还有大概3个，大家请 hold 住。Fight Club 就是 introduce yourself in the spreadsheet. You can find the Fight Club link also on page Fight Club. The first important thing is do talk about Fight Club to friends. 大家可能已经不知道什么是 Fight Club 的歌，对不起。有效的就是那个 I know your age 。好，你可以在这边自荐你自己，然后你可以去看别人，然后就是连接。那我们还有很多合作伙伴，所以有 side events。那也是 side event 的 button 也是在官网上。那今天晚上 welcome everybody to beer party hosted by our partner Open Culture Foundation. It's near 南港。今天晚上有个啤酒趴，那是开放给所有的参与者，那欢迎大家去。那详细的内容也是在这个官网上的 side event， 晚上6点半开始，啤酒make friends. Okay, finally use GovZero Summit hashtag to send social media messages. 然后呢，我们尊重不想被拍照的人If you don't want to be photographed, you can take a red这个 badge 的这个东西到外面去找，那摄影组就不会拍你，然后就是会避掉你的脸那麻烦如果有需要的人就到外面去拿。那 no fruit drinks in the conference room 就不吃，请你不要在这个任何会议室都不要吃东西好，最后我们感谢所有的这个 就是合作单位。我们在这个将近1年的筹备里面，我们获得开放文化基金会就团资讯组，我被要求要把话全部念完。记得 Unique 工业局财团机器人科技汇报据说让台湾 Round Table 发协，谢谢。然后 Canada 政府幼生基金会 MediaTek 这个 TCC 主妇联盟，我们这次有3个合作社的支持，还有SkyMiser、Cinex、ELO、民生公网，然后智邦景益科技股份有限公司、李慕容与王向荣公司，老朋友行动网络联盟 Watch Out、ClickUp 两个合作社，他们是就是花莲合作社还有中部上德村和中都提供了气泡水，大家可以去取用，然后还有日本的朋友提供 UD Toku 就是口译的系统，然后 Cerepress、ODP、Civic House 一层协力，我念完了，好，还有我们有征求个人赞助，因为我们这次国外讲者非常多，所以我们的预算非常紧绷，所以感谢这些功德票。然后如果还想要买功德票，网站上现在还可以抢购谢谢这些个人赞助。那我们有一些 open space， 然后有一些背板你可以去拍照。Okay, so we want to build an ecosystem here everywhere to solve problems collaboratively. 所以我们这个年会，我们希望可以更想的是怎么样用一个协作的方式，一个开放的方式。我们可以一起来讨论问题、思考问题。那就这样 ，Enjoy, make friends。panel 可以就是开始分散式的移动了。那如果是留在这个 panel 是这个宇昌这一轨，对不对？好。
Hello， 欢迎大家来到国际会议厅，我们的议程即将开始，恳请大家进入座位，谢谢。我们的议程即将开始，请进入座座，谢谢。好，大家好，我是宇昌。那今天这一讲是由我们开放我们 Chatbotsss 的3位主持人一起来跟大家分享一下我们这边学到的一些经验。那这边是我们的主持人方瑞。那我们的团队里面有2个助理主持人，是我宇昌还有马克。好，那这一讲呢，我们会有分大概3个 session。那前面的部分呢，是由方瑞来介绍开放政府人论的大的框架跟制度跟方向，然后 Chatbotsss 的一些我们运作的一些方式，以及 我们学到的一些东西。那接下来呢，因为我们其实开过了非常多次的所谓的协作会议，那在这个过程中，其实因为会议的样态实在太复杂了，所以晚一点我们会跟大家由我来跟大家分享一下我们大概开过哪些协作会议，那我们从里面看到哪些东西。那最后我们3个人会上来坐在上面，然后跟大家回答这个 Slido 上面的问题。所以如果您方便的话，请你可以先用你的手机打开 Slido， 点斜线 Pidis， 然后先上去看看我们可能的问题。如果在听的过程中有任何问题，都欢迎在上面先行提问，这样子。那我们麦克风先交给方瑞。
大家好，我是 Pidis 的专案顾问方瑞。那我会用一些时间跟大家介绍一下开放政府联络人的这个制度。那在讲开放政府联络人的制度之前呢，会先稍微介绍一下 Pidis。那 Pidis 是在行政院里面的一个单位，那它叫Public Digital Innovation Space。那是公共数位创新空间。那为什么要先介绍 Pidis？ 因为开放政府联络人制度呢，会被就是 Pidis 的一些原本的一些 mindset 去影响。那所以我也会稍微讲一下，就是 Pidis 跟在做开放政府联络人这件事情是用什么样的文化、什么样的态度。那这样等一下在介绍开放政府联络人制度的时候，会比较能够去连接说为什么我们会去这样子去想、这样子去做。那 Pidis 的文化呢，可以用这张图来表示。那这张图就是滴水穿石的概念。那因为我们会希望说，推任何事情的时候，它都是一个我们有时候有些事情它是急不来的，可能是我们要必须很长远的做才可以看到一些改变。那我们如果说想要改变一些文化或是想法或是处事的态度的话，其实我们会需要给他的是时间。那我们就不会去设定说我们一定要很 push 的用很强压的方式去执行一些事情。那所以可能有时候有些东西看起来会很慢，但是这个是有意识的，我们会希望说用滴水穿石这样的概念去做一些事情。还是会希望说改变是微小的，但是还是希望可以看到一些不同的地方。那再来是讲一下 Pidis 的目标。我们在去年底的时候有做一个内部的组织的共识，那有去盘点一下所有的成员对于自己组织内部希望一起去达成的一些目标有哪些。那我们盘点的方式是从中间开始是我们的目标，然后到浅黄色的便利贴中间那一层是我们要怎么样达到这个目标的途径。那最后一圈绿色的这个内容是关于我们怎么样达到这些事情的实际的作为。所以从目标到途径到作为，我们希望说可以去做一个连线，才会帮助我们知道说有哪些事情我们在做。如果它没有回归到我们的核心的这个目标的话，那它可能不会是一个我们重要的优先顺序的事情。那如果看到中间的话，这个就是几个 P1， 就是 Priority 1的意思。所以最中间最大的这个 Priority 就是我们希望可以去加强、去建立公民与政府之间的互信。那其他其次的目标就是围绕在旁边。那再来是开放政府这件事情，因为在做开放政府，它是一个这4个 pillar 是非常抽象的，所以我们为了说要去呼应这些开放政府的一些理想，我们会需要有人做这件事情，会需要有事情去做，所以开放政府联络人就是这群人，他秉持着开放政府的精神去做一些事情。那做的实作就是透过协作会议在体现开放政府的精神。所以如果因为大家可能等一下会听到很多不同的名词， 所以我这边先做一个基本的名词的定位，那大家会比较知道说我们等一下要讨论到的东西是哪一件事情这样。所以开放政府是一个 concept， 它是在上面去有一些比较理想跟抽象的价值是我们希望去达到的。那再来，因为这个每一种概念都会需要有人去执行，所以那个人就是开放政府联络人。那我们走的途径，因为做开放政府其实是可以有很多不同的方式。那这是只是我们做法，就是走协作会议的途径，然后让开放政府联络人去串联这一切。那我们的方法呢，就是很多我们的在做的方法都是回到以人为本的设计。那我这边讲一下什么是开放政府联络人的这个制度。开放政府联络人呢，这个制度呢，我们会希望说，我们是做文化的改变，从公部门里面开始，因为公部门是非常的专业分工，所以在每个部门他所做的事情都是非常精确，然后非常的精准。但是如果有一些议题，因为像我们现在所遇到的议题，它不会是只有一个部会在处理。有些议题它会是跨到不同的面向跟层面，那这时候我们就会需要横向公部门的横向串联。那所以这个 PO network 它就是为了要去做这个政府的这个横向串联，那这些 PO 它本身又可以做它自己部会的这个垂直的串联。那为什么会有这样子的PO network 组织开始呢？是因为在2016的时候，那之前我们的 Digital Minister， 唐凤，他在入阁之前，他是国发会的一个讲师，那他专门是在训练，就是Join 平台上面的一些关于公务员怎么样去回应对这些公共政策在网络上的这个一些建议，公务员怎么样去回馈的一些教育的训练。那就后来就发现说，每一次的教育训练进来的人都是不一样，因为每一个议题他会负责的业务单位，因为刚刚讲到说专业分工的关系，所以每次来的承办都会不同，他的课都永远都只能从第一堂课开始去上。那所以就是发现了这样的问题之后，又同时也理解到说跨部会的串联真的是非常重要，然后每次的教育训练应该要累积在比较同一批的人身上，然后这一些人他可以再去做横向跟垂直的串联，而不是每一次遇到不同的议题，他都会是不同的人来这边受训。所以 PO Network 它本身也是一个会希望说把这些训练或者是进步的能量，都可以尽量再维持在一个群组里面。那但是不是就是只有让这个 network 的人拥有，而是他们是散播一些核心能量的这个种子。那让开放政府的一些精神跟实作，它可以是有固定的人，然后去慢慢的这样子扩散出去。那所以刚刚讲到什么是这个 PO network， 现在就要说那这个PO 是谁？那这张图可以大概展现一下，我们现在有32个部会，那每个部会至少会需要派出一名 PO 来担任这个开放政府联络人这个角色。那目前呢，我们每年大概会有70个左右在中央政府里面，但是逐年来说 ，PO 的这个人数呢，已经渐渐扩散到就是3级部会，那甚至还有地方政府，就不是只是在2级机关里面的 PO 而已。那当然一开始 PO 是从2级机关开始，就是从每个部会去挑至少1到2个人这样子。那所以这些开放政府的联络人呢，他们就会作为一个 是一个 network， 然后他们会负责就是主持、转译跟记录，去帮忙去和透过这个协作会议，去跟内部自己本身以及外部不同的利害关系人一起去做一些公共议题的讨论。
When they begin ideating, when they begin trying to figure out what the problem is and what the solutions might be. And the idea behind yes and versus yes but is if someone is talking to you and they're telling you, I think we should do this, and they've got an idea, and your response is immediately, yes, but I don't think that's going to work because of this and this and this and this. You immediately shut down that line of thinking. You stop them from taking their idea to a new level. Yes and philosophy is the idea of saying, yes, I love that idea, and let's add this to it. So yes and is about building ideas, not evaluating them, just building ideas. Whereas yes but is you're immediately evaluating them and saying this idea is not good enough. So we want the students to begin thinking with yes and. So we use improv for that. We also have very active classes. Every single class, the students are working on the project with their community partner or for the community partner. So there's a lot of these different activities, but then they get into their groups and they start doing the things they need to do to solve the problem. We've got team-based research, so the students have to work in teams. They have to work in multiple teams where one team might be focused on front-end development, one team might be focused on database, and one team might be focused on something else, and they all have to work together and communicate effectively. And finally, there's this added piece of reflection, where the students are asked to think about what they did, and write down what they think about what they did. It's a bit of a fuzzy, touchy-feely sort of thing, but reflection has been shown to actually help students understand a material better because it forces them to think about what they actually learned. Did they have biases going into it? Did their mind change about something? It helps them to absorb the information that they learned.
And just as an add-on to that, as simple as this all may seem, it's amazing how much resistance we get when we pull this stuff into the classroom. Like it seems so simple. There's like 10 words. But the second we bring it to a computer science classroom, everyone suddenly is disengaged, and we really have to enforce these skills. So we've been doing a lot of talking, so we're going to move into our next little activity. So I'll get Dan to explain this, but if anybody needs a pen and paper, this activity does require a pen and paper, so if you need one, just throw up your hand, and I can come look around and bring you one.
Okay, so this activity is about collaboration skills, but it's also specific to a learning outcome in computer science. So with software design, one of the things that we want our students to learn is about building requirements. Requirements, for those who aren't familiar, are essentially a blueprint or a rough description of what the product is you're going to build. The general idea is that the requirements don't tell you how to build it. It just tells you what needs to be built. So a system, a user must be able to log in to a system would be a very, very basic, simple requirement. But it's not telling me how they log in, right? So what we do is we present this activity to the students to help them understand the difference between a requirement and an instruction. We don't want them building instructions when they're collecting requirements. An instruction means that every single person is going to produce the exact same thing because the instructions tell you how to do it. We want them to discuss what needs to be built. So, what we're going to do is we're going to look at some requirements here. This does double, though, as a collaboration and sort of opening ourselves up to other ways of looking at the world. So it doubles as that. But this is your task. So based on these instructions, you need to draw this person. This is Henry. Henry wants you to draw his picture. So Henry tells us that his body is oval shaped. He has a large mouth with 8 pointy teeth. 4 of them are in his upper jaw. 4 of them are in his lower jaw. He has 2 arms that have 2 fingers each. He has 7 blue spots on his belly. He has 2 legs that are slightly bowed away from the center line of his body. He has 2 wings, each with 3 points on the trailing edge. And he has 2 eyes, each of which is on its own stalk extending from his head. So take a moment, read those again, and start drawing Henry. Don't worry, this is not an art competition. Just draw. It's not a problem. And we give this to the students, and of course they giggle. They're like, what does this have to do with computer science? But this is like requirements. I'm not telling you how to draw it. I'm just telling you things that Henry, characteristics about Henry. So presumably what we're going to see is, I don't know how many people are in here, but however many number of people are in here, that many different versions of Henry. But let's see what we get. So take a couple minutes and draw Henry. Does anyone need paper still? Anyway. Okay. Yes. Okay. We're just going to walk around and, admire your artwork. Nice. Some artists in the room, very nice. When you've got Henry drawn, just put up your hand. We're going to come take a look out.
Very nice. We got a good one over here. Is anybody else finished up so we can almost compare some of the Henrys we've got? So here's one Henry.
Might be a bit hard to see, but...
Yeah. Oh, we got another one over here. Let's compare them. This one's a little small. It's a little more slender, this Henry. He's been working out a little bit.
Excellent. Oh, very nice. Orange versus green. I like it. Yeah. Oh, these are good. I like these. I keep these.
I know. Might have to collect these after.
Excellent. So we got this Henry here. So how many have a Henry that looks like this Henry? So just take a moment and look at your neighbor's Henry. How different are the Henrys? Take a look at the things that you might see as different. So perhaps some of you have short legs, some of you have long legs, some of you have bowed the legs out, some of you might have bowed the legs in. All of you have achieved these requirements, but you've come up with different solutions. And some of those different solutions are because we have biases built into what we're doing. And that's not to say that biases are bad, it's just that we have different experiences that color the way we interpret these requirements. And so it's a really good tool because students get to understand what a requirement is, but they also open themselves up to the idea that all of us were reading the exact same thing, and all of us have come up with a different solution. And it's a great way to start that conversation that we should be open to all of these solutions because none of your drawings are wrong. They're just different. And so it's important to recognize that we have different things to offer a problem, especially when we're trying to build a solution.
Yeah, what I love about this exercise is, as Dan said, not only does it bring up what our biases are and what's, how we all have a different interpretation of things, but from a computer science perspective, these are requirements, these are functional specifications, and we could extend this list infinitely, and I can guarantee that we would still not have the exact same Henrys in the room. These are not instructions, these are requirements. So this is what our Henry potentially looked like. So some people might look similar to that, but again, it's because they were requirements and not instructions. You probably shouldn't have had the exact same Henry. We all have our own way of doing things. And that happens all the time in the computer science industry. When a client comes up, they know what they want their product to do. They don't know how to achieve that and how to get there. They have an idea of what it might look like at the end, but all of the developers that are working on this project, they're going to bring in their own biases, they're going to bring in their own interpretations, and the end product is going to be different unless we can keep that communication up and start to find the common ground between our biases.
Okay, so now this one's a bit simpler-ish. Okay, so communication skills. One of the other things when students are working with a community partner, as I said previously, the community partner doesn't speak computer, typically. They don't understand networking, they don't understand web stacks, they don't understand any of that stuff. They hear just noise, right, when students start yammering on about these technical terms. So we need the students to be able to recognize who their audience is. And it's not that we want them to dumb down what they're saying. We want them to translate the information in a way that the community partner can do something with it. So this activity, this comes directly out of a research paper that was published. What I want you to do is I want you to read this statement and tell me what it means. This was published in an academic journal. So this has been peer-reviewed. So it reads, participants read assertions whose veracity was either affirmed or denied by the subsequent presentation of an assessment word. What does it mean?
Does anybody have any guesses as to what they think this means?
And I will tell you, when I first read this, I don't know what the hell this means. Even now, I still read it and I'm like, it's terrible. Any thoughts?
It's almost like a riddle. Like, it really is. Like, and this is all too common in academia. Like, they want to sound super smart, so then they actually close off any sort of communication skills they have. Anybody, any guesses?
All right, go ahead.
Oh, it's true or false statements. Wow, we could have just said true or false. That's far easier.
Yeah, so this academic paper wrote that ridiculous sentence when all they had to do was say, we gave people true and false questions to answer. That is way easier to understand, and it contains no less information. The best part is that this is something that's not going to build a wall. People are going to be able to read that or hear it and go, I know what you're doing. But if science is supposed to be building and helping people, the previous statement is a joke, and we don't want our students to talk like this to a community partner because it builds walls and it prevents the discussion of potential solutions to whatever challenge they brought to the classroom. Okay, so the next one is another communication skill. And what I did last year or the year before, I had several colleagues write a short paragraph about something that they do research on. And the idea here is, I told them to write it as if they were writing it for someone in their discipline. So I'm only going to present one, but I would like you to tell me what this means. So, intersectional analysis, based on its position as a theoretical and methodological orientation to research, corresponds to the indigenous methodological concept of relationality insofar as intersectionality conceives of political experiences as unfolding within a complex network of group associations, identities, and political and economic structures. Now, someone in social and political science will read this and go, yeah! How many in this room have any clue what this is? There might be one person, okay. Most of us look at this and we're like, there's a lot of big words in here. And we're not saying these big words are bad. These words are used so that we can quickly communicate within our discipline. But when it comes to talking to people outside of our discipline, it completely stops communication. Because if someone said this to me, I'd be like, I don't know what you're saying. And I'd probably pretend I knew what they were saying, and I'd get nothing out of the conversation other than I'd be nodding going, yeah, sure, you know. So it's not helpful when working with community partners. So your challenge is to write something like this based on your discipline. And when you're done writing this, what I would like you to do is to translate it into something meaningful that the rest of us would actually understand. So take some concept from whatever discipline you're from and quickly write a short sentence. It doesn't have to be this aloud. Just write a quick sentence from your discipline, say it to your neighbor, and then translate it for you so that they can actually understand. Does anyone want to offer or volunteer their sentence to the room?
Also like that, I'm sure whoever wrote this, they got an A. Their professor was like, wow, that's complicated. A for sure.
Any volunteers want to share their sentence? Another 30 seconds, and then we'll move on. As you're doing this, as you're writing the sentence, the complicated sentence, how easy is it for you to actually translate it into something you think other people understand? Is that an easy process? Why is it not an easy process to translate our discipline-specific lingo into something someone else will understand? Absolutely. Precision is absolutely important. And intersectional analysis is far more precise than maybe using other language for people have problems that come from different, for different reasons, right? The other thing about it is that when I'm trying to translate, I start thinking that I'm dumbing it down, and I'm putting it into a way that the rest of the world might understand. But because of what we assume is the base level, we actually are still using jargon even in our simplified versions. So we start using language that we might have learned in first year of university because we think that's the simpler way of saying it. But in fact, those words from first year of university are still discipline specific. So we make assumptions about what the audience that we're trying to communicate with are bringing to the table. And so it's not an easy task, and it's one that we need to teach our students to be able to do. And it requires a lot of practice.
I've also been training people to use this type of language. I remember one of my favorite exercises when I was an undergrad student about 4 or 5 years ago in one of Dan's class. He picked a topic and then had each of us write a complex explanation about it. And at the end, we all swapped papers with someone and then guessed which discipline we thought the other student was from. And I kid you not, it was like 80% of the time you could tell exactly what discipline that student was from, simply because of some of the language they use, even though it's the exact same topic. So we're training people to build these walls and not to build bridges.
So we're going to just move on. So if you've got a technical sentence that you want to share with us later, we'll take a look at it, but we're going to move on just because of time. We're going to talk about some of the case studies that have happened at the University of Guelph. So there's 3 in particular. I've got 3 videos. They're all in the slides, so if you want to watch the videos later, please do. The very first one is a project called Farm to Fork. And the general idea was I was working with a community partner. In this particular situation, it was, their logo's not up there, but it was the Guelph Wellington Food Roundtable. And they had identified a problem that upwards of 1 in almost 5 households in Guelph were not getting enough food. And Guelph is a relatively affluent community, so this is a pretty staggering number. Initially, we brought this to the students, and I thought the students normally learn about building computer games, and like they're gonna kill me bringing this type of a topic into the classroom. I don't know anything about food insecurity. They don't know anything about food insecurity. And in fact, when I first heard the term food insecurity, I thought it had something to do with bioterrorism. I had no idea it had to do with hunger and making sure people got enough to eat. So the general idea, though, is that we brought this problem to the classroom, and the challenge to the students was how can the students build a system that will allow people in the community to know what food is actually needed. We have food banks and food pantries in the community, but often what happens is they get things like Kraft dinner, like macaroni and cheese, dried beans, and pasta as the typical donation. And while those are all great and wonderful, they do not make for a nutritious diet. And so what the community partner wanted the students to do was to develop a system that would allow the people who could donate to actually see the grocery list of what people needed. Simple thing, it was all about communication. And so that's what the students developed. So there's a video on here. I'm not going to get into all the details of it just because it'll take forever. So that was one of the projects. So the video is here. It's actually a 10 or 15-minute documentary. We also had a project with a group in Toronto called Meal Exchange. And the idea there is it's a national organization that allows students to basically go out and collect food during Halloween. So they go out, they collect food on Halloween. They call it trick or eat as opposed to trick or treat. And the general idea is that they collect food for the food banks. The problem, though, is that all of this nationally was done with paper, pen and paper. And so the organization was trying to manage thousands of students to go out and collect food on Halloween. And so our students worked with them to begin the development of a system that they can actually start using to manage that entire process. The last project, we will show you this video, or at least part of it, was with a local partner called Community Living Cambridge. Now, Community Living Cambridge is an organization that works with young adults who are on the fetal alcohol spectrum of disorders. And so these are young adults, 18, 19 years old, who are basically now adults and have to live in the world, but they have developmental disabilities because of the fetal alcohol spectrum disorder that whichever one they might have. And so what the community partner wanted was a medication reminder device, something that would allow these people to remember to take their medication, to make positive health decisions in light of their conditions. So we'll show, hopefully this video plays.
Just as an addition, one really important thing that CLC wanted from this application as well is there's a lot of medication reminder apps already on the market. They wanted some sort of application that engaged their users and made them feel like they were making the decision to take their medication and connected them with other individuals. And this was a really important part of their system and something that a lot of our students really had to work at and kind of iron out all these wrinkles to build a system that could accomplish this. And so this was a team that did a fantastic job, and I always like to show this video when we teach the class in separate years because what you'll notice from this video is that they're really putting themselves in the shoes of their users as well as their clients. And before they got into any implementation, they understood what they were building.
we're going to stop it there. But what you can see here is that the students have gone through the process that would be normal in a software design classroom. They've collected requirements, they've built prototypes, but what they've done in addition to that is that they've worked with a community partner. They actually were in the classroom on at least 4 separate occasions, and the students were constantly in contact with them through Slack. And this allowed the students to actually build something that was meaningful for the community partner, but they had to do this with people who don't speak computer science. So they had to learn all of these communication skills and collaboration skills and planning skills and team leadership skills in the classroom. And that's what these activities that we were going through today, we've developed in order to help achieve this.
I'd also like to add, these are third-year students that often haven't built anything like this. And because we empowered them and gave them, and they felt a sense of ownership over their product, and they felt proud of it, that all of a sudden they were able to accomplish things in development and in programming that wouldn't have been able to be accomplished in any other sort of classroom. Plus, they actually got a real product out of it.
So, how is this actually, what has actually happened with this type of a course? The community is super engaged with this idea because they see the ability for not-for-profits and charitable organizations to actually get ahead and get something accomplished that they don't normally have the opportunity to do because they don't have the resources to build the things that they need. So the community over the last number of years has actually donated well over $80,000 to the university to support students who, when they're done this course, can continue developing the product through undergraduate research assistantships and that sort of thing. It also allows us to go to conferences to demonstrate how this is done, get some computers and all that kind of stuff. The students have also been received numerous different awards. They've received 40 Under 40 awards in Guelph. They've received Be the Change awards, Emily Hayes Community Partnership Awards, the Gordon Nixon Leadership Award, and it goes on. I don't remember what they are because there's so many. There's the Weingart Volunteer Award, the Young Innovator Award, the Teaching Award. All of these things keep building because the students are no longer just computer scientists. They are civically engaged computer scientists. And the community is recognizing that they are different and they deserve the recognition. So, best practices is how do we actually get this done? So, it is not easy. I won't sugarcoat it. It's a lot of work, and it means that the faculty member has a lot more stuff to do, and the TAs have a lot more stuff to do. This is typically the course timeline, what the students would experience in a 12-week course. So in the first 4 weeks, they're learning about problem identification and planning, then they finalize their planning in weeks 5 to 8 and begin development on whatever it is that they're building. And in the last 3 to 4 weeks of class, they finalize their code and finish up demos, typically with the professor as the client. In a community-engaged course, the timeline is significantly different. Everything begins about 3 to 4, even 6 months prior to the course beginning. Because every semester is different, because every semester has a new community partner. So early on, 4 to 6 months before the course begins, like between January and March, I'm usually getting questions from community partners who want to bring their challenge to the classroom. It's my responsibility to then vet those projects to make sure that the projects are sufficient enough to reach the learning objectives of the course. I can't just have a simple website because that's not going to allow the students to actually learn and master the skills they need to learn. Once that's done, the 1 to 3 months before, it's all about setting expectations. So I've selected the project, we've figured out how to map the needs of the community partner to the learning outcomes of the course, and then we have to set expectations because the students will not finish the project in 12 weeks. It's not feasible. The very first time I taught the course, I didn't think to warn the students about this, and at the end of the semester, after producing a product that the community raved about, and after getting donation after donation to help them continue building it, I asked the students, are you proud of what you've accomplished? And almost half of the students said no. And I was like, what? And they said no because they expected to finish the project in 12 weeks. Like, no. So now I know I have to build that into the course to manage the expectations. So 1 to 3 months prior, this is mostly setting expectations for me and setting expectations with the community partner. Then the class begins. So what you just saw on the previous slide, that's all in here, but the community partner takes part in all of this. After the course is complete, it's often the case that several of the students want to do independent study courses, and they take on the project a little bit further and get more course credit for it. So the projects can continue living, and out of the 6 times I've taught the course, 4 of the projects have continued beyond the classroom. It means a lot of work because I've got now 4 projects that I have to manage, but it's a lot of fun and the students get a lot of it. So this is what I experience and what the community partner experiences. It's really important that every class contributes to the final deliverable. So the students are actively doing things to achieve their learning outcome and to achieve what they need to achieve for the community partner. Normally, this is another really important thing, normally the professor, teaching assistants, and the students are really the actors in the classroom. In a community engaged scholarship classroom, the community partner is an active participant. They come in at the beginning of the semester and they talk to the students and say, this is our challenge. I don't tell the students what the challenge is. The community partner comes in and they do. And the students then have an entire class to ask the community partner as many questions as they possibly can to figure out exactly what needs to be built. Throughout the semester, there's constant interaction with the community partners so that we can make sure that we are on course and doing what they need. And then they are in the classroom for paper prototyping sessions, wireframing sessions, and final presentations of the final product that the students have completed, or whatever they've managed to complete by the end of the semester. So community partners are absolutely essential in the classroom. They're not just outside telling me what's going on, they are active in the classroom. So that also requires management because that's an extra set of bodies that you need to work with and get into the classroom. Ultimately, you have to look at your community partner as a part of the teaching team. They are bringing expertise in a domain that, in my case, I am not an expert in. I don't know enough about hunger or poverty or drug abuse or any other broad social challenge to be the expert in the classroom. That's why they are there, to provide the students with something. So yeah, community partners are part of the teaching team. Of all of this, what I would suggest that needs to be done is manage expectations is absolutely essential in this type of classroom. Managing the community partners' expectations so they know that the project is not going to be complete by the end of the semester. It's the beginning of a process. Letting them know that there is a chance that none of the students are going to be interested in continuing this after the course is done. Because that has happened in one particular project, none of the students wanted to continue it. Another project that was discontinued wasn't because of the students discontinuing it, the partner didn't want to do it anymore because they felt they didn't have the resources to do it. So managing the community partners' expectations is huge, managing the students' expectations is absolutely essential, reminding them constantly that I'm not expecting them to finish a fully functional website or mobile app, I'm expecting them to solve a problem. And those are 2 very different things. Finally, managing my own expectations. Because I'm often engaged with a community partner for 3 to 6 months prior to the course, I come into the course and I'm like, yeah, this is going to be so awesome. And sometimes the students are like, it's all right, whatever. So sometimes, sometimes it hurts my heart a little bit. I'm like, what do you mean you're not that excited about this? This is amazing. And there's also the idea that you get students who, they push back on this idea because why am I doing this? Why aren't you just teaching me how to build typical software? This is stupid. And so there's that you have to get, so you get a little bit emotionally involved with this and sometimes it hurts your heart a little bit. So managing expectations, absolutely, this is like, for best practices, these are absolutely essential things that you need to do in a community engaged course.
Just almost from the student's perspective, I was also one of those students that Dan asked at the end of the course, like, are you proud of what you did? And my response was kind of like, yeah, maybe, no, not really. But it's a bittersweet thing because it's not that I'm not proud of what I accomplished. It's that my expectations for myself in this course and how much I believed in the project I wanted to do so much more. And so it's unlike another course if someone said, yeah, I'm not proud of my project. This course, most individuals that say they're not proud of their project is because they didn't think they brought it to fruition. They didn't think they were able to do everything they could, and we can give them the opportunity to continue working on that project. And more often than not, they end up being proud of it.
And kind of like, how cool is that the students are so engaged that they're disappointed they didn't finish an assignment? Like, that's kind of cool. Like, that's not something I typically get in the classroom. If the student doesn't finish an assignment, they're like, there you go, you know, and they move on. But in this case, they're so engaged that they actually feel they've let me down and let the community partner down because of their connection to it. So that to me is like super awesome.
Yeah, I think that's one of the almost the best things about community engaged scholarship. That in any other course, if I didn't quite finish a project, it's, you know, as long as I got an okay mark, because at the end of the day, my project is going in the garbage. It's not being used for anything else. It's a project just to prove how much I know. In this case, I want to prove how much I know, and I want to evaluate and develop a good product. But I know it's not going in the garbage at the end of the day. I know I'm not using an entire classroom of manpower and of human resources to build websites semester after semester to show that you can build a website and then have those websites go straight into the trash.
Okay, so the last part, and hopefully, like, I'm not sure how much time we have left, but hopefully we'll be able to have a little bit of a discussion here, is some of the things that I see as outstanding issues with community engaged learning. So, So, some of the things that still need to be explored. There are issues around intellectual property rights. Now, this one is mostly managed at the University of Guelph. Anything that the students create in the classroom, my understanding is that they own the intellectual property rights. Because we're working with community partners who are charitable organizations and not-for-profits, the students typically they don't have a problem with the fact that their intellectual property is being used to do better in the community. Nobody's making money off of these projects. So the students typically don't have an issue. If, however, students do have an issue, I have to give them some other project to work on. So this is another thing that you have to manage as running a community engaged learning classroom. You have to be able to provide the students an alternative if they are fundamentally against doing this kind of work. To date, nobody has been against doing this kind of work, so even though I have little projects in the back of my mind, I've never had to deal with it. So it's been awesome. Forced volunteerism. I have had students at the end of the semester go, oh, Dr. Gillis, he's a jerk because he made me do this work and I do my own volunteering. And that's all great and wonderful, but to be perfectly honest, the students who have complained about that typically are there's only been a small number of them, and they typically have been the ones who haven't done well in the course to begin with, so I feel like it's not the volunteerism that they're having a problem with, they're having a problem with me, but it is still something that needs to be.
It's almost a little like ironic and hypocritical as well. It's like the second that you have to build something and put it in the garbage, oh, they're fine with that, but somebody's going to use my product? Like, no, I want to get paid. So it's a little weird.
Selecting of the community partner is a topic that needs more work, and it sort of ties in together with ethical considerations. So there is potential pushback, or there could be potential pushback from the students. If I were to bring a topic to the classroom and I ask the students to work with a particular community partner, and there are students in the classroom who are fundamentally opposed to what that community partner is trying to achieve, how do we address that? How do we deal with those ethical considerations? Maybe it's a religious issue. Maybe it's, they're just fun. Maybe they're, a big Trump supporter and they just don't want to help anybody. I don't know. We have to deal with those types of things in the classroom and provide other opportunities for the students in that situation. The last two is, I don't know if this is common here or not, but the class size continues to get larger and larger and larger. And managing this type of a project in a big classroom is a challenge. And then we finally got the long-term sustainability. Who's responsible for this code once the students have finished writing it and have moved on? Does the community partner take it over? They don't have the resources to begin with, so can we rely on them? Should we rely on them to take it over? Should we make this a burden for them? Or is there some other way? So what I'd like to do is I would like, I'm not sure, how much time do we have? 15? Oh, perfect. Okay. So I'd like to maybe have you in your maybe in bigger than 2, get together in groups. Pick one of these topics, and what I want you to do is talk about potential ways of addressing these particular challenges. And the reason I want to do this is because I need help figuring out how to address some of these challenges. So you can pick any of these, or if you think that there's another one based on the conversation we've had so far, use that. And I just want you to brainstorm some ideas about how we might address some of these issues that come with a community-engaged classroom. Yep.
So in addition to these outstanding problems, I would like to add one that I'm also facing is that how do we engage the community partners?
Perfect. Absolutely.
So the thing that I'm thinking about is that the community partners might be within your sections, so that you pick some of the easier ones to work with the students. But also, usually the problem that I'm facing is that I will have to talk to government officers, but they are kind of lack of interest in something, so that I need to bring them to be engaged into some of the national projects and so on.
Right.
So and they don't really come up with the requirements or something that you can communicate with, so that's going to screw up everything. So and the second thing is that you're talking about the class size, but the thing is that I'm thinking about this kind of classes should not only be in the computer science, but also in other disciplines too. So have you any experience in doing this kind of teaching in other disciplinary classes?
Yes. Actually, I'm glad you asked that. So one of the other courses that I teach at the University of Guelph with my colleague Shoshana Jacobs is a course called Ideas Congress, or ICON for short. And in that course, what we do is we bring together students from any discipline. So we have, so far we've had first years, third years, fourth years, and fifth years in the same classroom, upwards of 26 different disciplines represented in the classroom, spanning social sciences, spanning art, physical and engineering sciences, agriculture, all the different colleges that we have on campus. And we have this classroom where we've got 40 to 50 students from these 26 or so odd different majors. And we have a similar project where a community partner comes in and the students have to work together in training teams to achieve some goal for that community partner. And so, yeah, I've been very fortunate that we've had this experience with other disciplines, and some of the exercises that I have, I've been pulling them from different disciplines as I've learned more about those disciplines to present and engage students in a way to help them open their minds up to other ways of understanding the world. So yeah, I'm very fortunate that I'm able to do that.
I've also had the fantastic opportunity of being in both of these classes and TAing both these classes, and Ideas Congress is almost like level 2 after this class. This is the scope of computer science, but the second we get more and more disciplines represented in the classroom, the more we have to focus on all those activities that we did earlier in the day, and the more we have to focus on collaboration and communication. And it really takes longer until anyone's actually building a product or building a system, because we almost have to break down their walls and teach them how to work interdisciplinary first.
Actually, I'm thinking of propagating this teaching idea to the other faculties of different disciplines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And so what we do with this particular course, with ICON, we have other faculty members get engaged, because in order for the students to be signed into the program, they have to have a counselor or an advisor from their own discipline say, yes, they can take this course using this course code. So there's no specific course code for them to take ICON. What they have to do is they sign up through an independent study course within their own discipline. So Nick did it through Computer Science 4900, but one of my other students did it through Geography 4900. And then I've had students doing it through Math 4600, and there's IDEB 3500 or something. So every student is taking it with a different course code, and they require an advisor from that discipline to help get them into it and be part of the course. They're not all as engaged in it, but they do recognize the utility of the course.
It's certainly difficult logistically. I haven't been involved in the logistics of it, but even just watching what Dan has had to be through to pull this course together, it is a bit of a logistical nightmare to get, because every student in that class gets a different credit. And so we have to find some sort of curriculum that teaches them all these things that still satisfies what they would get in their credit, like their credit for their own discipline, but it's a course that does not have a discipline, which to the best of our knowledge, I believe is actually the first one in Ontario, potentially Canada, that allows having a university course that isn't within a discipline.
Did anybody else have any other challenges or see any other obvious challenges based on the conversation so far with community-engaged learning?
Hi there, I'd like to ask a question regarding the selection of community partners.
Yep.
So, as we all know, not all problems can be solved with computer science or should have an IT solution. So how do you ascertain which problems in the community deserves an IT solution and which one does not in the first place?
That's a very good question. I've been relatively that most of the projects that have come forward had a very, very clear tech connection. But there have been projects that have come forward where, I mean, one project, I'm not going to give away all the details of it because I don't want to make the partner feel like their project wasn't valid, because it was a valid project, just not for the course. But I've had situations where literally a partner just wants a website to advertise what they do. And I'm like, that's not what we do. Most of the other partners who have approached, they've had some topics and such, but it's been more about the application of computer science from the point of view of like AI or machine learning or that sort of thing, which is not what this course is. This course is about software design. So with those types of projects, what I'll do is I do teach other courses, and I might be able to pull them into those courses, because pretty much every course I do now has some sort of community aspect to it. But when the projects come, I have to look at them and try to make that evaluation of like, is this a good tech solution? Is this a solution that when we're done, people are going to use? And honestly, like I haven't developed a specific checklist as of yet. It's just sort of a gut reaction where I'm like, this doesn't make any sense, or this looks like it will fit perfectly. And then once I've got a selection of them identified, then I have to figure out, can I achieve the learning objectives for this course with this project in mind? And that's not always the case either.
So it is done at your level and not yours.
Yeah. And that's something I've been wondering about, is like, maybe I need to present students with 3 or 4 options, and they decide what the project will be for the classroom. I haven't got to that point yet, because I'm still struggling with the idea, if I have 3 or 4 community partners, am I making them compete for the students, and is that, I haven't figured that one out yet. But.
We have the privilege, because we have this course and we have Icon. Some people will come forward with ideas that they want, brought to fruition, and we can, if they're a tech idea, we can put it in this course. If they're not, we can kind of bring it to the other course. And the beauty of that is sometimes we still have to, if a computer science student is in Icon, they still need to have some sort of computer science solution or something related to computer science. But what most people assume is that means they have to program something. We kind of always come back to computer science does not equal programming. There's a lot of things, methodologies in computer science that you can practice and still get a credit in that course without necessarily developing a tech solution. So specifically in that Ideas Congress course, we've had projects in the past that didn't have inherent tech solutions, but it was still incredibly valuable to have computer scientists represented at the table so they could bring their knowledge and experience.
So I don't know if we'll have enough time to actually chat more. Does anyone have any questions about these or anything else? Because I think we are running out of time. I don't know what's next. Oh, final thoughts. Look at that. Okay, so basically what we've tried to do is, over the last 90 minutes or so, is present to you the concept of community-engaged learning and its importance, or what I think is its importance, in the computer science domain. And I agree, I think every discipline should be doing this. I think every discipline should be encouraging their students to talk to the community and apply their skills. Because the really cool thing I find with students who are approached with these types of challenges, they don't come with any kind of baggage. We all have baggage because we know, oh, this policy says we can't do this, and this rule says we can't do this, and someone tried this 20 years ago and it didn't work. Well, who cares? The students come to this and they know none of that, and they just dive in and they try to solve the problem. And I always find it amazing at what the students are actually able to achieve in such a short period of time. And the course for me is, I mean, it's frustrating at times because there's so many things to manage and it's so much work. But all the courses I teach, these types of courses always provide me with the most return. Because I feel really connected with the students. I feel like they're actually learning something from me instead of me just standing at the front rambling on about a bunch of stuff. And I can see the results after the fact. I can see that they have become more civically minded, more civically engaged, and they now see computer science, or whatever discipline they're in, as more than just the study of that discipline. They see it as a tool to make the world a better place. And to me, that is an awesome, awesome thing.
I would not be here today if not for these types of classrooms. I would have graduated my undergrad, gone out and worked in the industry, had some sort of job that I kind of liked, maybe not, but this rejuvenated and motivated my education, and now I'm way more involved in my own education, in my own learning, and in civic duties.
So the hope here is that you've got a little flavor of some of the activities that we do and the importance of why we do them. And hopefully, like, there's a bunch of other activities that we didn't go through just because of time. But if you have a chance, take a look at the slides. If you have a question about any of these activities or other activities that we run, please ask us. They're very entertaining and fun, and it always gets students laughing and everything. Ultimately, though, yeah, I'm a firm believer in community-engaged learning, and I really, really hope that more computer science departments get on board with this type of thing. This is the last thing we're going to leave. This is a comment from one of the students in the classroom. The community-engaged learning approach empowered us to create better solutions, enhance our learning experience, and provided a sense of ownership over what we created. It is safe to say that the projects were the only projects in our collective university careers that are still used to this day to help the community. This particular student is one of the students that ultimately ended up winning the 40 Under 40 Award and the Be the Change Award on campus. The number of students who have stayed involved and been active in the community after this course is phenomenal. I highly recommend it, but with the caveat, it's a lot of work. Anyways, thank you very much. If you have any questions, please let us know. The last slide that was just up there are 3 links in there to different blog posts that talk about some of the stuff that I've talked about today in a bit more detail. And if you need to contact us as well, our social media, our Twitter accounts are here. So thank you.
好，谢谢我们的这个 Daniel、Gillis 还有 Nicholas 给我们这么精彩的议程。那我们下一场议程的话，会是11点半开始，那是参与是公民科技的运算特征。那如果就是下一场议程没有要参与的人，那个请记得将您的就重要的物品啊都拿走，以免就是因为毕竟流动率很大，就是人都会走来走去的，然后也避免说就是如果没有要参与的话，不要占着位置这样。那谢谢大家的参与。
If there's any questions, we'll be wandering around, so feel free to come and see us. Oh, sure. You know what? I'm not going to do that. Also, if
anybody still has their markers or they want to give us their aliens, we would love to bring those back to the classroom and show everyone. So drop off your aliens and markers up here.
所有的彩色笔，请大家就是拿到前面归还，然后也可以欢迎跟讲师分享大家画的 handwriting。
Nice, awesome. Cheers.
I don't know if it'll be this coming fall, but maybe.
Regarding clusters, what I'm thinking about is interested in this like in sociology that might want to set so to actually get instead to teach the other classes. So you can split
So what I'm working towards a biology what her and I want to do, she has a classroom requirements for whatever reason her classroom sometimes like we their biology is the same, but my regular science one of their brain and force them to work together. So that's the actual thing. So we get we just have to work. Exactly. Yeah. And even just like yeah. So some of the other faculty are they never get so using this library and I couldn't see this. They have to kind of straight. Yeah. But yeah, and then you get that stuff. Yeah, so you get yourself and you're like, wait, that's not I think practice is challenging. Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, we could have one of these classes, you also get a bunch of the whole world and we do something. Fun of opportunities. Yeah, I will. Thank you guys. Yeah, thank you. Go to Elephant Mountain. Yes. We got another eat some crazy stuff. It's fermented tofu and then fried. Oh, that was brown. Yeah, I had that. It was good. Yeah. It was good. Like fermented cabbage. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Fantastic. Yeah. We don't even know. We don't even know what we put in our mouth. It's like what? Yeah, it was pretty strong. Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan, but you can't knock it to the track. So. Yeah, and like you should always eat because I essentially oh no, the next time. Okay. Alright, good to know. Okay, then we're gonna check us out like a long time. Yeah. Yeah, it's called blankets. Blankets. Yes. Okay. So when I took well, what are we doing? Actually, yeah, it's very difficult. I've been fortunate. So it's been less of me trying to get and I try to slant it. Let's do what's up. Once this is done, they've got this really amazing CD, and that often it's stage. But mostly, most of my friends don't use it. Other than I try to find one day, it's most necessary. It needs extra work. I have to try to find scholarships and grants and stuff.
Okay, so I actually have a different, what maybe do you have because I have a different scene.
Yeah, and then it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
When are you gonna be?
Next. Yeah, that'll be awesome.
Because there's so many things that keep away. Yeah. So one of the things we are facing and so we are supporting and trying to figure out ways of drawing them in and keeping them connected.
Yes, yeah.
But I wouldn't say that we're very successful. My hope is that by presenting computer science in a way that it's not the traditional computer science route, that is going to help. And I, just anecdotally, I would say that the number of women in our program has gone up over the last number of years, because we do advertise this kind of program. And I feel like because the students have to learn how to sit in line with how to this hypothesis here, the side effect is that the men in the classroom are learning how to better. And so I think women are feeling less threatened. I hope. But, yeah, it is, yeah, it's still a challenge.
Yeah, and all our extra yeah, like ideally,
sorry, one more time. So in this class, I bring one project. It's one community partnership. So they all, the first part of the course is they're all to identify what the community is. And then, so that's in the first 4 weeks, and then the second 4 weeks they break up into teams and start implementing solutions. So you get one challenge, and then different interpretations. And that simplifies that problem.
Yeah.
If there was a student who didn't know which project to connect to, I would either randomly assign them to, or I would say, okay, the other option is this project or something.
I like you.
Oh yeah, by all means. Yeah. It's not mine. I borrowed it from someone else. So yeah, by all means, use it. Okay.
Yeah, but then because you practice.
Yeah.
Oh.
We had 5, 3, and then 5, and I only had to show the 5 minutes, and you didn't see the 2 or 5
Having like a
I'll use it. I think next time I'll maybe wig and laptop.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course. More effort.
Okay.
Thanks again. Yeah, thank you. See you around.
See ya.如果还有彩色笔的，请大家帮我拿到台前来归还，谢谢。
就是。 Antes tenía uno, pero lo perdí siempre. He perdido ratones, cargadores, pasaderas. Cada vez que doy una charla, luego termino, me voy corriendo y me
下一场议程马上就要开始了，请大家准备就位，谢谢。
可以。
好，那我们现在就要欢迎 Pablo Aragon 来跟我们分享参与式公民科技的运算特征，让我们欢迎他。
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah. Well, first of all, I would like to thank the organization of the Zero community for this summit and for inviting me in representation of some of my colleagues to this workshop. It's about characterizing online participation in civic technologies. So first of all, I have to say that this is not a talk. This is a workshop. So it means that as soon as you have any kind of question, like there is some concept that is not clear, there is some idea that is not clear, my English is not clear, or I'm speaking quite fast, that happens quite often, please raise your hand and let's engage in a discussion. I have planned to have around 10-20 minutes in the end for an open discussion about what I'm going to present here. But please interrupt me at any moment, as much as we can, so we can have a productive session. Okay? So, after that introduction of the workshop, let me introduce myself. I'm a PhD fellow at the Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning Group in Universidad Pompeu Fabra in Barcelona. I'm also working part-time as a data scientist at the Big Data and Data Science Group in Eurecat, which is the Center of Technology of Catalonia. And within those institutions, I have been actively collaborating with Decidim Barcelona, which is the platform for citizen participation in the city. And right now I'm coordinating the Laboratory of Democratic Innovation that started because of this project of civic technology. But I'm also been collaborating quite actively with Participa Lab, Medalla Prado in Madrid, also to try to help in the understanding of how the platform beside Madrid works. And some of the idea I'm going to present in this research, in this talk, is based on research in these two platforms. Well, the motivation of this workshop, which is the motivation of my PhD research, is the emergence of platforms for democratic processes, which engage a large number of citizens, or online debates, or online petitions, or cross-law, or accountability. I think here in Taiwan you have great examples of these kind of technologies and how We have been developing platforms for improving our democracy, and how now there is a web-based democracy aspect. But I also think that we are also aware, or most of us we are aware, that platforms are not neutral. Like platform affordances, which are the totality of possibilities they offer, are often seen as technical features, like the design of the platform, the algorithms that you code for the platform, the way you present information, how you sort it, the opportunities to interact between users, they must be seen as technical. And most of the times, these decisions are taken by programmers or people in the head of those programmers because they are technical. But we're talking about platforms for democracy. So by definition, any technical feature in a platform for digital democracy has a strong social and political implication. Any intervention that we do in a platform is able to affect the democratic scope of the process that is being hosted in such platform. So to illustrate that idea, I'm going to present So I'm going to present two case studies, one about affordances in online discussion platforms, and in particular about the effect of conversation threading in a platform called Mediame, and also affordances in online petitioning, and for that I'm going to compare two platforms, the City de Madrid and the City in Barcelona platforms. And finally, from the findings of both case studies, I'm going to propose how to address the problems or the issues raised in this case study from a techno-political approach. First, we'll start with online discussion platforms. The idea of focusing on conversation threading, it started in an European project, it was called Decent, and in that project, we were testing different platforms. Does it work? Yeah, it's much better. So this is a platform called Avoid Ministerio. It's Open Ministry. It's a platform in Finland where users can make petitions, and it gets, I don't remember how many signatures they go into the parliament. And here you have a petition, and here you have the discussion. And here the discussion is with conversation thread. Like messages are arranged close to the replies in a tree-like structure, so we can see this is a maybe here, well, it's not so visible, but this is a reply to the post, a reply to the post, a reply to this comment, and so we're using this threaded way typical of online forums. Well, this is another platform, maybe you are familiar with this one, it's called Democracy OS. It's from Argentina, but this is an instance that was used in Barcelona. And here, the conversation view is linear, like messages are sorted linearly, with no hierarchy. Sometimes they're sorted by time, but it can be by popularity, as done in Stack Overflow, and so on. But here, the reply interactions between users are not shown explicitly in a visual way. Okay? So when we were exploring these platforms, we were wondering, does it matter? Has any kind of effect to use conversation threading or not? Well, we start to check related work, and what we found is like there has been some studies, not many, but some studies in different platforms, like for online forum. There was this study in 2007 saying that thread discussions were more effective in building communities. There was also some studies in chat platforms, some researchers that they were studying. Can you hear? Yeah. They were studying linear chats and hierarchical chats. And what they found is like the hierarchical view, it helped to mitigate the context loss problem, which is a problem like users are not able to identify the conversation, like who is replying to who. And they also say that the hierarchical view improved coherence within the discussion because of that. But also, it was more coherent, but sometimes users still prefer the linear one. So there was not a clear opinion in those communities, on those studies. And also there have been some studies in email services, showing that, again, like hierarchical view, conversation threading provide better local context. well, linear view generally most accepted by users. And in the case of Facebook, most of you will remember that in 2013, like originally they were totally linear, and now there is like 2 levels. There are replies to the comments. And this study in 2013 said that it favored participation but decreased the depth of the conversation. So from reviewing the related work, what we found is that the type of representation is strongly affect communication. There's already empirical evidence in different platforms. But to the best of our knowledge, the difference between using a linear view or hierarchical view was not investigated on a large and mature community of users. Like all these studies were experimental. They were just setting a platform, playing with one view or the other, or sometimes only one of them, and experimenting with users. But those users were just recruited for that study. They were not a real community. So we found this great opportunity, which is Meneame. Meneame is the most popular Spanish social news platform. It's a clone of Dig, actually it's like Reddit. It was very popular in Spain, and mostly in 2011 when there was the Indignados, the 50-man movement, because it was massively used for political discussion, for sharing contents, and for building an alternative agenda setting, because users were able to post, to share the news and others like that as done in Reddit. So from a political perspective, it was quite relevant. And interestingly, for this issue about the conversation thread, the comments originally were like that. They were totally linear. And then they moved to conversation thread. In the original view, anytime that the user had to make a comment, has to make a comment and say if it was by a click, like it was a comment to the original post or to any reply. So there was a hierarchy, but the hierarchy was not shown explicitly in the interface. But in 2015, and I think mostly because of the popularity of Reddit at the time in Spain, they moved to explicitly show that structure. Is it clear? So from that opportunity, we set some research questions, like how are discussion network structures affected by using linear or hierarchical conversation views? Which are the parameters that explain those changes? If we find some change, what are the parameters of the, in terms of user behavior that can explain why that happens? And also, finally, which conversation view, linear or hierarchical, with them, is more effective to promote deliberation and community building. So, for answering that question, we crawl the entire data set. We get all the stories that were in the front page. They were up 2011. It was incredibly popular. We took like more than 72,000 stories with the thread. So in total, there were more than 5 million comments. And we can see that it was becoming less popular then, and in terms of the story of comments. But since 2014, it remains stable in users. So there was like a big peak of activity in those years, but then it remains stable, at least in users. So we get all this data. And first we start to explore the data. So to explore the data, these are examples of a discussion thread. Okay? This is a visual representation of a thread with a tool we built to explore the data. Like here, it's the thread as a radial tree. So this is the post. In gray, you have the comments to the post, and then you have the comment to a comment, the comment to the comment to the comment, and so on. So you can have this radial tree. The size is related to the cascade they are generating. And we're using colors for coding the authorship. So what we can see here is like a typical thread with a linear view. When users were not seeing a hierarchy, mostly there were many replies to the post, directly to the post, and sometimes two long chains or alternative comments. So they were like, most of the time, two users who were exchanging ideas or insulting between themselves on the internet. While here, we see with the hierarchical view a different structure. Like here, there are less comments directly to the post, but users get engaged in deeper areas of the tree. And also, it's more frequent that sometimes a comment that is maybe in the second, third, fourth, even 5th level can trigger a cascade. So you can get attention and start as a discussion inside of the thread. So this is what we found from just data exploration. It has no any statistical significance, so of course we had to analyze if that we were exploring was true or not. So for doing that, we took two metrics. The first metric is based on online deliberation, and it's based on a framework developed by Sandra González Bailón and colleagues. And the idea of this framework is like, in a very basic level, there are two preconditions for online deliberation. One is representation, like many users participating, and the other is argumentation, like there is like a real exchange of ideas. So if we are moving these four possibilities, like no representation but argumentation, or the best scenario with representation, argumentation, of these different quadrants, if we use discussion, here maybe it's not so visible, but if we use a discussion thread, something that is not argumentative and not representative is not a thread, a trivial case, something that is very wide, like it has like many comments in the first level. It has a lot of representation, but not argumentation because there are no deep chains in the structure. While sorry, this is the trivial. This is the trivial case. This is what I was saying about the wide. Like there are many users, but they are not getting the deep structures. Here it's not visible, but it's like a very long chain of new users. So maybe there's a lot of argumentation, but it's not a representation of the community because all this argumentation is based on two users. And here is the perfect scenario where we have like a very complex structure, like very thematic. It's very wide, it's very depth. It's similar to what we saw in the thread of 2015. Okay? So this is how, this is not talking about the content of the discussion, but the deliberative structure of the network of the thread. So to quantify that, what they use is something called the H index, which is a network complexity measure that says which is the deeper level, H that have at least 8 comments. So in the first level there are 9 comments, okay? In the second level there are 92, in the third level there are 6, but in the fourth level there are less than 4 comments. So H index equals 3, okay? So it's a way to balance both deep and wide structures, this H index. So this is a very basic but also sometimes effective way of finding deliberative or complex structures in the discussion. But also in terms of community building, like many studies have focused on this concept of reciprocity. So what we did is take for every thread the network of interaction between the users of the thread and examine whether these edges, those interactions are reciprocal. And because those are weighted networks, like the number of interactions between those users, it matters. We use a specific metric for reciprocity in weighted networks. Okay. We have the data, we have metrics for evaluating, but now we have a methodological approach. So what we apply is an approach developed by Molly and Jürgen Pfeiffer, which was the statistical analysis of platform effects. Platform effects is like platform intervention and technical features of a given platform, which constrain, distort, and set user behavior. So what they do is something called regression discontinuity design. Like it's something that usually you have, you set an arbitrary cutoff to set a control group and an experimental group. You make an intervention, and then you measure what is the break of that intervention. Okay. Here in our case, the temporal, this dimension on setting the cutoff is the temporal dimension. Like the intervention will be when the platform moved to the new interface in 2015, in January 2015. Well, here we will have the two metrics, the reciprocity and the H index I presented before. So we will measure what is the effect, but not only to measure, because by definition, if we make this kind of regression, it's always going to better fit a discontinuity than a continuous regression. So what we did is like examine at every point, which is the most significant point to have been an intervention in the platform, and check if that was the moment that the platform transitioned from non-conversation threading to conversation threading. It's exactly what we did, and well, the results are quite obvious. Like there was, the H index was growing, but there was this point when the new interface was deployed with conversation thread, and then H index is now much higher, and there is this gap. And it's the same for the weighted reciprocity. Like it was also growing, and you can see not only the distance, but also a sense of the slope. Like it even grow much faster. So what we can observe here is like just by changing the original linear view to a hierarchical one with conversation threading, like both on deliberation and reciprocity, they were affected by that decision. And this is analysis, but we want to go a step further and go for modeling, like trying to understand like which is the behavior that might explain that to happen. So what we do is to extend an existing model. There are something quite trendy now that are called generative models of knowledge discussion, and are statistical models in machine learning and explain why a discussion thread and the network of the thread grows in a particular way. So this is an example. We have this thread with these posts, these comments, and this is a particular model that we extended. And when a new comment arrives, we want to predict whether it's going to be a reply to this comment, to this comment, to this, or this. And to doing that, in this statistical model, we take into consideration different features. One of them is the popularity. Like comments who have many replies will be popular, so it will be quite likely that a user will reply to this comment because it seems that it's already popular, it has already 2 replies, rather than this one that maybe is not so relevant because nobody has replied yet. Also, there is another feature. I skip the math. If someone is interested in that, I can explain that later. The other thing is the root bias, like making a difference between people who directly reply to the post or they go to the comments, because those are 2 different kinds of items. Also, the novelty, like popular nodes might be popular because they have already many comments, but also all comments becomes rather less attractive. So maybe this has no replies, but this has been replied, or this one has been replied just before, so maybe this one will be a reply to that. And what we did is like taking this model, but extending it with reciprocity. So considering the authorship of every comment, and taking like, if this new comment, the author of this comment is the same one of this one, this will be a reciprocal interaction, because it will reply to a user who has replied to him. So taking into consideration if the arriving comments will be reciprocal or not. And that matters because what we saw before is that those long chains of user sending messages, so it's something that we thought would make sense. We examined that with the both models, and what we found is like the fitting and the prediction was much better. And finally, we examined like every parameter, the popularity, the bias rule, the novelty, and the author reciprocity over time. And again, we applied the same methodology of predicting which is an intervention. And what we found is like now with the hierarchical view, popularity grows, like popular comment becomes even now more popular with conversation threading. The root bias is not so significant, but also the novelty decay increases, which means like all comments are still more attractive, and the author reciprocity grows. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because in that case, like the importance of the root bias was getting less important. Like with the original one, the difference between a post replying to a post or replying to the comment was becoming less important, but with the new view, now it gets a bit more important. But here the results are not so significant, they are not significant, so we just focus on the first, third, and fourth. Yes.
Oh, I'm just curious, like for other 3 graphs, the red spots and the blue spots, they are heading toward the same trend.
Yeah.
But for the second graph, they are like counter direction.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, why is that?
Well, actually, because when we examine like the significance of every feature, it was the least significant one. So it was much easier to change that trend because the importance of that feature was not so relevant. So it was much easier to flip to the other direction. Okay. So this is what we observed. Thanks for the question. And now we can conclude like our first question is like how are discussion networks affected by using linear hierarchical views? And what we found is like with the hierarchical view with conversation threading, the discussion network structures are now rhythmatic, much more complex. We can see the emergence of those sub-discussions, and what we found is like larger levels of content deliberation and reciprocity. So it has an effect. By using the model, which are the parameters that explain the resulting change, what we found with this model-based analysis is that the hierarchical view, the conversation thread, it induces more reciprocal activity, which is consistent because we already did in the first part. But also it makes popular comments to attract more replies and slow down the decay of novelty. Yeah.
Can use the mic on the desk.
Okay.
All right. The question is the second point: more popular comments attract more replies. Does it mean that it depends? Does it depend on context? More relevant topic versus it just more replies.
Okay. This is an example of many example. The front page, and here we have now the discussions, okay? So the reason for that to happen is like, or at least our interpretation because of that phenomenon happening, is because in Reddit, like, the full discussion is sorted by branches, sub-branches, sub-branches, etc., and they are sorted by popularity. But here in Meneame, they are also using this conversation threading, but first of all, they are sorted by time. So here there is the first comment, and then the comments to the first comments, the comments to the comments to the first comments, and so on. And they are not collapsed; they are fully expanded. So what is also happening is like comments who are in the first branches, they are very visible. But if you make a comment that is a direct, when a very large discussion, you have a problem of information overload. You will be almost not visible in the community. So this is a real problem because when discussions are growing, like new ideas cannot be visible by the community. And in terms of Meneame, it's a platform for discussion about news. Some of them very political, mostly for discussion, but I'm thinking about civic technologies for decision making. This could be quite controversial because okay, popular comments get more popular. That might sound like something good or not, but the interpretation of that is like in a conversation that has already many comments, it would be quite hard to bring a new idea inside of the conversation because it's not connected to the existing one. So innovation will receive a penalty in those discussions. So that's quite relevant. Actually, for instance, here in Taiwan, that's what I think I love of using polis because they break this concept of discussion and just mapping the affinity between ideas and how these minor ideas are also visible. While here, if you bring a new idea, will be almost no visible. So yeah, it's a great question. But it's clear what I explained? And also the concept, I don't know very well why they decide to fully expand the branches. Because in reality, that's quite obvious. Like, when a branch has already, like, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 comments, it gets compact and you can expand it if you want it. But by definition, you don't, by default, you don't occupy the full page with that first big branch. So yeah, with conversation view, what we found with the hierarchical views, like it increased deliberation and reciprocity according to this metric, but it's also important to bring that idea that I just shared. Like, according to this metric, it has a positive impact, but in terms of other metrics like the visibility of new ideas, new comments, and so on, it could be quite hard to them to get attention, and it's something that should be taken into account. So was it clear? Yeah. Sorry. Can you use the mic please?
The density of reciprocity, it can be negative, hatred exchanges. So it's not necessarily to community building.
Actually, you mean the density can be negative? How is the...
There are exchanges, there are negative comment.
Okay, I was thinking you were talking about like a negative value for the metric. You mean a negative meaning of reciprocity? I totally agree. Like this is a language agnostic approach. So the nice thing of that part is like we're able to adapt this methodology to any kind of platform because we're just talking in the structural part of the discussion. But for sure, if like there is a big reciprocity between specific users, and mostly in online platforms, maybe we'll have not such a positive indicator. It will be like fights or edit words or these common words in this platform. So then, although there are a lot of literature saying like reciprocity is an important metric for online communities. Reciprocity is needed for a community to exist. Like there are some sites who have shown that the absence of reciprocity leads communities to fail. I agree, like in some contexts, like these higher levels of reciprocity and specific cases of reciprocity might be explained by a negative or a non-healthy behavior in users. So, yeah.
So if I understand correctly, that your algorithm is based on the numbers of the replies and then the how many comments that to a single comment, right? And so my question is there a way that you can calculate the words that in a single comment? Because I would think that if they are just bad words or hate comments exchange, that maybe just the each comment their word counts will be shorter than the actual like more deeply discussion is there.
Yeah, I totally agree. As I said before, this is a language agnostic, so we're not taking the content into account or making easy to replicate in any kind of context. But when we're talking about discussion, at some point, like the content has to be analyzed. Also, there are, for instance, studies which have shown like reciprocity not based on the interaction, but between the similarity of the replies. So there's a reciprocal behavior. I'm talking about what you just have said. So there is like the similarity of those texts, and also like the emergence of jargon or misbehavior because of that word might explain specific context and explanation for those phenomena to happen. So it's something that I really want to do for future goal, like to extend with content-based features, but it was not in this study. But if someone is interested to that, I really would love to do it. So I'm quite open to collaborate for that. Any more questions? So now I will go to the second part of the second case study. This is like affordances in online petition, but this is something that's work in progress. It has not been published yet. And the idea of this second part, focusing on online petition, is like there has been like much recent research on data from online petition platforms in different countries, like studies from the platform in the United Kingdom, the platform in Germany, the platform in the We the People in the States. And in Spain from 2015, there has been a trend towards implementation of this platform. They have been quite successful in engaging like dozens of users, but there has not been yet an analysis of how this platform performed. And as Wright said in a study that he analyzed the UK platform, like the need to understand how petition platform works is essential to avoid unrealistic expectations. Like we really need not only to deploy the platform, but also to understand how they work, to analyze them, to avoid those frustrations. So here I'm going to focus on two platforms that now are based in different technologies, but the moment I'm going to the case study, the experiment I'm doing here, both were powered by the same technology, but with a different configuration. So it was the same civic tech, but with different settings. One is the site Madrid, and the other is the city in Barcelona. In this one, I'm going to focus on a process it's called citizen proposals, and this process started in September 2015. I guess 2 years ago when Miguel Arana was in this conference, he might have explained this platform and this process. So, well, it's still active, like it's a process that started then, and it's active until now, until the future, but it's open until someone closes it, and hopefully it's going to be always open. And the idea is like any citizen can make a petition, and the petition gets more than 27,000 signatures, more or less. They go to a second phase that any verified user of the platform have to say yes or no, and if they say yes, it has to be implemented by the city. So at this moment there are more than 20,000 petitions, but they expire after 1 year. So you have 1 year to gather all the support. If not, it expires and you have to start again. And one of the main things is like contracts to other platforms like Change.org or this platform. Here, only residents, like citizens of Madrid, can support petitions. Like any user is able to create proposals, to discuss, to vote the comments, but to sign a petition, you need to have a verified account. And interestingly, like while most petition platforms, they usually focus on just that process, online petitions. Here in Madrid, they have like another process happening at the same time. Like there were like an advertising campaign, a voting campaign for changing a square, 2 editions of open budgets, a big election process, another urban process for voting. And what I'm going to focus in terms of technical decisions, like originally petitions were sorted in the front page with a list sorted by the hot score of Reddit, which means like it's like the trending topics, like petitions were recent and popular, like in the last 1-2 days, the ones people have been receiving a lot of support. At some point, they set a banner with 3 petitions, then a banner with the top 2 petitions, and finally they move back to the hot with the old one. But still, you can also check which are the most popular ones, like the petitions in general who are most popular, not only the 20 ones, but for any moment. And also the most recent ones, to explore which are the ones who have been published in the chronically like more recent. So this is the site Madrid. And this is the city in Barcelona. That, as I said before, now it's powered by its own technology, but at this moment it was powered by the one of Madrid. And here I'm focusing on what is the first process of the platform, which was the municipal action plan. And this started in February 2016 until April. And the idea was like the city council, but also any citizen, any organization, and people in meetings were invited to make petitions. This petition had to gather as many signatures as possible to express their support. And then those petitions, they were evaluated, including an indication of support to be implemented or not. That worked from the publication date of like the lifetime of a petition started from the publication date, the day it was published, until the last day. So they all have you can start the first day or maybe the 5th day, you can start even in March, but they all close on April 10, 2016. And now the platform in Barcelona has many processes in parallel, but at that time it was the only process. So there was no other process in the platform. People who go to the CDIM, they went just because of this. Well, here in the site Madrid, users will go to proposals, but maybe they were also coming to these other processes happening there. And here in Barcelona, what it was being discussed is like, there was an impression like the hot score, it was the default, so it wasn't one of Madrid, but it was not working properly in terms like, it was giving visibility only to the recent petitions, like the popular ones, but mostly the recent popular ones or the recent ones. So there was a decision taken by the community saying like, okay, let's do it randomly. So any petition will have equal possibilities to be visible. But again, when it was checked, was moved to a random, like it was the hot available too, but also the most popular and most recent. So it was the default option, but you were also able to explore in other ways. But default matters, like what people find by default is what most people check. Is it clear? There's 2 differences, more or less? The main idea is like, here in Madrid there are different processes happening sometimes in the platform. Here there is nothing more, nothing that's happening. And here is sorted by trendiness, here doing a sampling. Like total randomly. Actually, these are the interfaces. Like here is the site Madrid, and the front page at that time. Here is the banner of the two most popular ones. Actually, those ones were finally implemented. And here the one of the city Madrid, of the city Barcelona, which here is sorted by default random. So again, before analyzing, we wanted to segregate the work because there was research with this kind of platform. And for the UK government website, there was this one of the first studies by Scott Hale and the people from the Oxford Internet Institute. And they were analyzing with regression which were the feature of petition, why they succeed or not. And what we found is like the number of signatures of the first day was the most significant factor. Like petitions who received many petitions in the first day were the ones that succeed. And also they studied another idea, which is like at some point there was like a list in the front page of trendy petition, like a trendy list in Twitter. And what they found is like there was an effect of that intervention. Like petitions were able to appear in that list. They received higher visibility, so the inequality grew. Like this popular petition became more popular, and the other ones, because they didn't get in that list, they were less popular. It was a small effect because many users were directly going to the website to sign the petition that they wanted. But there was still a number of users who are called the aimless petitioner, that they just go to the platform, explore what is more important, and for those ones, that matters. It's what they find by default. So it's what finally they can support, but it's more likely to be supported. Also, there have been studies for the White House website, and this was published last year, and they found like petitions are more likely to fail when the number of signatures is lower on the second day than on the first day. Also, they were examining this behavior of this grow fast, like petitions usually they grow very fast on time, and then no more support is needed, so you really need to grow very, very fast in the first hour, on the first day, but not in the first hour. And this was recently modeled by the people of the Oxford Institute, comparing UK and the US platform. And this is exactly what it found. Like petitions, they adapt a multiplicative process model, but they found like petitions grew very rapid in the first 2 days, but then they stop growing. So you really need to be very fast in your first day. And again, this for another study with the Open Petition platform is similar. Like petitions with many signatures are the ones that are less likely to exhibit sparsity signing. So they are able to grow very fast and then receive some support. But the very varsity ones are the ones who receive a few petitions, like a burst of signatures, a burst of signatures, and they don't grow any longer. So you need to grow very fast to then get that visible. Yeah.
Okay, one extra question for this is, does it take into account extra support for the petition? For example, sustained campaign online and offline?
Yeah, actually the initial motivation for doing that research is like there has been these studies that have been focusing like how to understand the growth, and some of them have focused on ideas of the petition, like a petition, a good petition might be like supported, it's not so true. Also the effect of the platform, that is more important, like the platform might favor some petitions but not the others. And what we wanted to check is the community, like trying to understand like from other sources like social media, check like if the popular ones are the ones who get support. But finally what we are finding is like those communities are very important, and for sure that might explain many things. These are petitions for verified users, not like change.org. So becoming popular in social media might not help you to be popular in the platform, because you will share it with many people who are not able to support the petition. So in the end, the platform, and as I will explain later, has and how you configure and set the platform settings will explain many things. Actually, some studies have focused on competition and the spillover effect. Like sometimes when there is a popular petition by a community that brings many users to the platform, like petitions were published at the same time, they will benefit from that. And it has been examining German petition platform, 2 different studies, like petitions we've seen in time with a successful petition were able to obtain almost twice as many signatures per day. Like if you were lucky enough to be published when a popular thing is happening, another popular petition is happening, you are going to be benefit from that. So we found this was a research gap again because there were not so many comparative studies. The only one is the one by Yasser et al. Last year, but it was more focused on building a model that can explain everything rather to compare both platforms. And here we are not only comparing two platforms, but we are comparing two platforms that at the same time they were powered by the same technology. So it's not a matter of technology, but also a matter of the platform setting, like how you configure that technology might also affect the behavior. So the research questions were very obvious, like how do hosting simultaneous participatory processes affect petition signing? Like in Madrid, there are other things happening in the platform, so how is the effect? Is there a spillover because of that? And also the sorting criteria of petition in the front page. Like in Madrid is the hot, like the trend thing, and in Barcelona is random, it's a sample. So this is the distribution of petitions and signatures in the city of Madrid. Like here's over time, this is petitions and signatures. And what we found is like there are big peaks happening. And these big peaks normally like they coincide of times when other things happen in the platform. Like when many users come because of the advertising campaign for urban processes, or participatory budgeting, or big elections days in the platform, and there is a lot of activity. So activity is unequal. Like there are days that there are almost no, well, there is activity, like there are still thousands of signatures, but it's not comparable with these other days. So most petition platforms, usually they just focus on petitions, but because here we're having different processes at the same time, one process might affect the others. And because petitions is like a real-time channel, this real-time channel is not equal over time. Like it really depends by these other things happening. This is the case of Madrid, but for the case of Barcelona, well, we can see like, well, here these are two cases because here there was a dump of petition from other meetings, but the activity, because there was no other processes happening, was much more stable. But suddenly, as I say, there was a common deadline. Like all the petitions they closed the same day. It's not like Madrid that they expire 1 year after the publication date. Like here it's common. It doesn't matter like if you start the first day or you started here. It will end at that point. So what we saw, and there has been model for that, is like a deadline effect. Like in the last week, there was like an increase of attention in terms of publishing petitions, signing those petitions and trying to get that support and finally take into consideration for the municipal action plan. These are the evolution of petition signatures over time, but then we did that and that explains what happened for those graphs. This is not an easy graph, so please, I will explain, but make me questions because it took some time to explain. So this is the site Madrid. These are the two graphs that we saw before, okay? Like this is the number of signatures per day, and this is the number of petitions per day, okay? So here what we have in this plot is like how many signatures in this day, okay? They were done, how many signatures in this day were done to petitions published in that day. So first what we found is like, well, this has been safe because after 1 year, a petition is published, like we cannot receive more support, okay? Well, here is a full triangle, like petitions can be published at any moment and receive support until the end, no matter when they were published. That's why that happened. And what we found here is like most activity is concentrated in this diagonal. So most signatures, they are going to the recent petitions because it's what it's set by default. But also, there are those days, those big days of attention, like all petitions can also receive attention. So it means what we see here is like petitions who became popular in the first day, they are not, after 2-3 days, they are not in the front page, but if they were lucky enough to get much support, they will be in the total ranking of the best ones in total. So they will be still visible by just changing the order. And actually what we found, like most concentration of activity out of the diagonal is for days with many users coming for other process. 2 petitions were published in a previous day that also has a lot of activity. So what it means is like, in the end, what it matters it's not maybe not so much the community, maybe not so much the petition, but the platform. Like the platform is really favoring the recent ones. So in the first days, you have to get as much support as possible, and then be located in the total ranking to be visible in the future. And to get that in very fast growth in the first day, what you need is like many users coming to the platform, and also verified users, because are the ones who are able to sign. So in the end, what is the motivation of users to come? Having another process. At some point, we can think this is similar to Twitter. Like you can start a campaign and a hashtag, but you're not going to start a hashtag at any time. Like you will coordinate an action, many people do it at the same time, and a specific hour where there is collective attention. So here, collective attention, because verified users are a very minor minority of the internet population, is when users are interested in going to the platform. And that moment is when another process is happening. Like when there is open budget, when there is a big election, petitions of those days, they get benefit. Well, here in Barcelona, in this process, well, because it was applying a random criteria, it's like a sampling. Like the day that have many petitions in that day, most signatures focus on petitions that day. And then this is the design effect. So it's more shared across that. Yeah.
Do you have information related to referral, like where people are coming from? Because like this to me looks like the internet from 5 years ago, where people were actually being going to websites and clicking on things, as opposed to receiving links in Twitter or Facebook. And so I wonder if you have data related to, like where, like is it 50% of people are coming from the social web? Is it 80%? Are most people actually coming from the front page or their email campaigns?
This is a great question, actually, because it has been like a lot of attempts to do campaigns on social media to bring people. And as some in previous studies, this behavior of endless petitioner, the petition to just go to the platform and explore, okay, I want to give support to some ideas, so let's explore which are the ones that fit to my political orientation and support them. This is a minor behavior. The problem is that we don't have the access to where people are coming, because this access is stored in the server, and but this is research where they have the access to the data. But in the end, what we found is that I was comparing, it doesn't appear in the slide, but specific campaigns were very popular in social media, and still the effect was not comparable to other things happening in the platform. Because in the end, you can be like very successful in social media, but it will only affect users who have a verified account in the same Madrid. So in the end, you need to do something that is attractive for these verified users. And the things that are attractive for those verified users are other processes that are interested for the citizens of Madrid, like participatory budgets or these voting processes happening.
And so is there like a power user concept when you think about these platforms? Like is like 10% of users signing 90% of petitions?
I don't have it. Well, first of all, that happens for the creation of petitions and for the comments, and that happens in any platform. Like there's this power law. Like there's a few users who are very active. The 199 rule. The thing is like signatures are private, so I don't have access to that. But I'm quite convinced that happens. Like there are these power users who are going every day and trying to support as much as possible because they are really committed to the project, and some others who appear just when this is happening and maybe they support some of these ideas. Is it really clear? I'm surprised. I wasn't expecting to. Okay, so let's move to the findings from this research. And what we found is like major peaks of activity for both petitioning and signing. They happen when other processes happen in the same Madrid. So originally, citizen proposals in the same Madrid was conceived as a real-time channel to generate public policies, but it's really affected by that because these other participatory processes operate as important but indirect motivation. Like in the end, like there's this real-time channel, but it's very affected by other processes. So it's not so much real-time, but coupled by these other processes being happen. So it's not only how you sort information, well, this is affected, of course, by how you sort information, but also by design of having different processes in the platform. So one process affect the others. And in terms of the sorting criteria, what we found in Decide Madrid, like signing mostly focused on recent petitions, while in the same Barcelona process, it focused on days with many petitions and resolved because of that sampling effect. So originally, the model by Yassari and colleagues last year, they were discussing that traditionally, political science has seen like mobilization follows a S-curve. Like there is almost no participation, and suddenly there is a tipping point, and then it's stable. Well, here in online petition, it didn't work like that. Like there was like a big, like things that succeed, they grow very fast at the beginning, and then they remain stable. They don't have that S. It's like this. So they were thinking that it might be generated by the accelerated nature of online environment. And what I really believe is not because of being online, like the difference between mobilization offline or mobilization online, but one of the reasons might be like most of these platforms, they use recency as a criterion for sorting petitions. So in the end, you are favoring this effervescence petition signing. But of course, like an experimental and controlled studies are needed to validate this hypothesis. So it's something that I really like to love. I really love to do in the following months. Well, finally to end with this also on this presentation, like we have seen like how affordances affect online discussion and online petition, like the way you design and the way you develop and all these technical decisions might affect the democratic scope of the platform. And one idea to try to address this issue in the CDIM. The CDIM is that platform that I explained before in Barcelona, which is a free, open, libre participatory democracy platform software for citizens and organizations. So it's used in Barcelona, but it's used in over 40 organizations, like the City Council of Helsinki, for instance. I'm not going to explain that. This is like how it's organized, but you have like different spaces, like profiles, processes, which go over time, like assemblies with our collective spaces, initiatives, and consultation. And then you can populate these spaces with different components, like with proposals, with voting processes, the results of the processes for accountability, debates, surveys, a blog. You can set as many spaces you want, then populate it with these components. And the actions typically are like navigate, to create, support, comment, endorse, follow, like as trying to be as complex as possible to let the organization of the city who adopt the CDIM, which is libre, but to configure according to the specific needs of that organization, of that entity. And this is interesting, but the most interesting part, based on, in my case, for what I was saying before, is this concept of meta-decidim. Meta-decidim is the governing community of decidim. And this is relevant because we are talking about civic tech, civic technologies. We're thinking about these technologies open participation, so they favor democracy. But again, if just a specific group of users who are software developers or the head of those teams decide how this platform has to be conceived, has to be designed, and has to be implemented, it will be better than the previous status, but it won't be radical. Like you really need to decide how to decide. And this is what we do in this community in MetaSCD. Well, this is the picture from the last year conference, and well, actually the keynote was given by Audrey Tong. And first of all, we have our own instance of the CDIM, so we need to evaluate how the CDIM works. If it doesn't work for us, it cannot work for any other city or for any other collective. And also, well, I can show it here. Using like the features and the spaces of the platform, of the CDIM platform, for organizing ourselves, like having like a general assembly, verification committee, or different actions like user experience, research, communication. But mostly like having processes like any person is invited to participate and like to be welcome in the community. This process is a process of be welcome, but also to receive support, to report a bug, but the most interesting part, to propose a new feature. So it's the same community using the same technology to decide how the community evolves. So that might not solve fully manner the problem of how these interventions might affect the behavior of users, but at least the interventions that are going to be applied in the platform, they will be decided in a democratic manner. And I think this is really an advantage. So open not only the participation, but open the way we decide how to participate. And well, this is the basic idea, and also organize decision-making organization is not only through the platform, but also there are monthly meetings. Like there are meetings two meetings every month, like for the assembly to decide the different all these processes and all these spaces, like how to evolve like new communication campaigns, new features, like new governance rules for the community. And at the same time, because many of the problems that we are facing has been already faced by many other people, we also have research seminars every month, so for gamification, for user authentication, or for any kind of topic. Next week is one about how to use SDN for cultural processes. Like bring experts and learn from the experts who have already faced those problems. So not only be democratic in a way like we as a community decide how to evolve, but also bring the expertise from these people. This is the main idea of how to handle these affordances in a democratic, but I think also in an intelligent manner. And that's all. These are the references I've been using. If someone is interested in them with the file. Thank you very much for your attention.
I have questions.
Great.
I know this talk is about CBO participating, and we make petitions, join, sign, and I'm also curious about what things not just happen but change. So did you research about how the petitions going through and after it's completed and the things really change?
I don't understand what kind of change you refer.
I mean, like the petition is sent to Congress or somewhere, and then the making laws or something makes it really happen.
Okay, that's a great question. Actually, in the for instance, in the case of Barcelona, this is the main process. That is the starting processes. That there were like 8,000 petitions. So then petitions, they were validated, yes or no, taking into account like the support, but also the feasibility. And many of them, they refer to the same or very similar idea. So they were grouped for the same purpose. So this is a very good question because it's not only an issue of opening participation, but also opening like the traceability and the accountability of that process. So originally, the first thing that was done was like to for this first process, like having some data visualization that can explain how the process works and how these petitions, some of them, they came from the city council, or they come from meetings, from organizations, or from the citizenship. They were grouped in different categories, and some of them they were rejected. But it was very expensive. It was not a good way like to have this data visualization, this storytelling for every process, because now there are like 50 processes happening at the same time. So what it was done here is it was developed a model of traceability. So here, this is in real time how the process is being executed. Like 76% of these projects have been done in these categories, and you can explore like there are 5 categories like good living, global justice, rural economy, ecological transition, and good governance. And we can get like in one of these subcategories. And here is the actions that are being taken. And for instance, here, in the action, like here, this is well, this is to reduce the acoustic pollution. So here, this is now at 55%, and this is something. This is action that it involves these 2 projects. That this one is in 30%, this other is in 80%. we can see that it's done in this neighborhood, it's done in this area, and this comes from this one proposal who was done in a meeting. And actually the idea is like, during that process in the city in Barcelona, there are offline meetings being held. So if you make a petition, a proposal, I'm using petition because it's the term that is used in academia, but here in the platform we use proposal. So for proposal, any proposal is done in a meeting, there is a link between the meeting. Like here we have all the meetings that have happened. And for instance, in this meeting, here we have like in this was a big one who was like what to do with the Rambla, which is the main street of Barcelona, and is totally gentrified by massive tourists. Like all these proposals emerged from that meeting. So you can trace like for every proposal, not only who is the author, but if it's in a meeting, in which meeting it was discussed with all the information about the meeting, if it was accepted, in which action plan is done, and that action plan, which projects are related to that, and which is the execution at that time. So this is quite interesting because and quite relevant because if you just open participation but don't let like full transparency and traceability of what is being decided there, it's quite frustrating. At least in Madrid I have another model, but I know much better in Barcelona. This is the approach. Any other question?
Hi everyone. You mentioned that the accounts are verified.
Yeah.
Could you go into a little bit detail about the different verification criteria, as well as any difference resulting from different implementation of the verification process between the platforms?
How the difference between the verification in two platforms? Actually, the data that is required for verification is quite similar in both cases. Like, I think you just need to provide your ID, then your ID number, your phone number, and I think I remember was the year. So then it's check with the census if that is correct. In that case, you get the verified account, and that citizen cannot have more accounts in the future because it has already done.
So it's just like a simple image upload.
Yeah, it's very simple.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about the role of meetings and like in-person events in Decidim? Because I know that in Console, in the Madrid system, there isn't really a data model. Like meetings and like live events aren't really don't exist when it comes to like petitions. But in Decidim it does. So I guess the question I have is twofold. One, how is Decidim used in live events, like at the time of the meeting? Is it used at the time of the meeting? And also, do you have any kind of ideas about the difference in quality of proposals that come from meetings, and also how meetings impact kind of the accessibility question of these platforms?
Okay, so let me. Well, the last question, like, what's the difference between the being coming from a meeting or not? What I can explain here is like, in terms of which one were approved or not, like most of the petitions that came in Barcelona from the city council, they were accepted, but not because it was from the city council, but because they came from a previous participatory process of the party who won the election. So it was the second time they passed through collaborative filtering, so that would make sense why they have such a high rate. Well, it's not so visible. It's very clear in my laptop and not here, but this one is better. And there, if it comes from a meeting or from an organization, the rate of acceptance is much higher than for a single citizen. So that makes a lot of sense. Like, as a citizen, you can have any idea, but it can be like a very individual desire and might not fit for the collective purpose of the city. So it was much more likely to be accepted, and that could be like a measure of quality, if it was done by an organization, which is like some kind of consensus of a group of people, an online meeting that emerged from a deliberative process, or from the city council who were already pre-filtered and were already collected. So that's a way of how the source affects the quality. The other question was about the offline meeting.
Yeah, like during a meeting. First of all, who gets to post a meeting? Or meeting, yeah, who gets to post a meeting? Can any user create a meeting, or is that an administrative user, or is it like a government official? Is it
Well, it depends on any instance. The CDM is just a platform, so you can apply the settings that you need. So in the case of the CDM Barcelona, which is the instance of the CDM for the city of Barcelona, like there are some administrators that set the meetings, and those are the public officers who are in charge of designing that participatory process. But for instance, in the one of Meta CDM, we are setting the governance rule for saying like for every different assembly that we are subdivided as a community, who are the ones who are in charge of making those meetings, and it's going to be fully open or just a person who is decided. So the main concept behind the CDM is like to be as adaptable enough for for the very specific nature of the organization of the institution. So it's quite different how it's organized between the city, which has like some rules that has to follow because of the participatory laws of the city, and in Spain, well, the community is much more grassroots, so this organization can be much more flexible.
Okay, and last part. So during a meeting, are people using the CDM? Are people like, you know, in like a Taiwan style process, my understanding is that the actual event is where a huge amount of the content, proposals, ideas, sentiment analysis is taking place. So I wonder, how is the CDM used during the actual event? Are people proposing things, you know, during the event on the platform, or are people proposing things, going up to a microphone and proposing things, and then someone's taking notes and then uploading to the platform later, that type of thing?
In the terms of, for instance, the instance of Barcelona, that big process at the beginning, like the model at that time was like taking notes and then updating the information about that meeting. Like the idea of meetings was able to add it to your calendar, so you would know when there's going to be a meeting, and then a facilitator will take the notes. But this was not a specific case. Like for instance, in MetaDecidim, last weekend in the Laboratory of Democratic Innovation, we organized an event. Here. It was called Participatory Science, so we did a workshop of 2 days of data of tourist accommodation to try to measure the effect of Airbnb in the city. And we used the page of the event for sharing all the information, but then it was updated with the streaming, also to allow to put all the program, but also the PDF of the presentation, but then having like this open space for the community to decide to propose ideas, to decide. So in general, what we try to do is like when you have this kind of assembly, like you can say like meetings and propose ready to meetings. So if you really want to hold these productive meetings, like just relay a space of proposals with a specific meeting and allow anyone to make proposals and make directions. So just adapt to the specific needs of that. In the case of Barcelona, at a specific time, it was using that model. Also, it was the first time, so there was not so much experience, not even in the group how to use the system. It was just deployed. But now we are experimenting with much more complex. And actually, one of the funnier things of the MetaDecidim, like the debugging and discovering like innovative ways of how to use the platform, the existing features, for purposes or activities that we didn't conceive before. Any more questions?
Okay, I got one last one. So what other tools during the event of a meeting? Do you guys use Slido? Do you use other kind of technical tools for during these events?
Actually, not really. Or maybe I cannot remember any specific other tool that we have used. Well, this is true like last year for the keynote of the annual conference, the keynote given by Audrey Tang, it was using Slido. So it was not connected to the CDM, but we were using that during the meeting. Also, I wanted to to experiment with a platform called Turnometro, which was developed by some Mexican developers that they came to Madrid for this hackathon organized in Medellin Prado, and it's like a chronometer that you can see in your mobile phone, but also synchronized in a screen, so everybody can see how much seconds are left, and using colors, and you can also press if you like what is like what's happening, so there's an update in real time. And I really wanted to try with that, but we didn't have the location. But also one of the main ideas of the CD is like inspire like another platform like Drupal or WordPress, like having a core but having almost every feature as a gem to be easily adapted. So for instance, this French collective called the Open Source Politics, for one of their instances, they make an integration of polis in the CDN. So I don't have the link here, but using the comments features of the CDN to then show using the API of Consul or polis, how these comments they were related between themselves. The API is available for things like that. Any more questions? We can continue discussing that. So thank you very much.